Hi there, welcome back to Mastering the Young Band. Today I wanted to talk about a set of exercises in my Essential Foundations Warm-Up and Technique book that I've created and that I sell through my website, MikePerezBand.com. And the exercises are called Chromatic Basics. Now, if you were like me 10, 12 years ago, if you would have told me how important teaching chromatics were to beginning band musicians especially, I would have thought you were talking about teaching them the chromatic scale. And in my mind, I would have said, oh yeah, I teach that at the end of the year. But then what I realized after watching and observing some really top-notch, especially Texas bands, is how much chromatics they teach their beginners pretty early on in the school year, even in the second quarter. Now, it's not chromatics like the Chromatic Scale. It's actually teaching chromatics, kind of just walking down, walking up in their different ranges and the ranges that they're playing. So in my Essential Foundations book, the students have these Chromatic Basics page. There's a Chromatic Basics, and that's basically from concert F to low concert B flat, right in that kind of sweet spot range for beginning bands. There's Chromatic Basics 2, which extends their range lower, and then 3 goes from the concert F to the upper concert B flat, and then the Chromatic Basics 4 takes them from that upper B flat all the way up to actually to high concert F. Now, I've actually changed the order that I've done my Chromatic Basics. So I start with Chromatic Basics 1, and then I actually moved to Chromatic Basics 3. So I have my student in their sweet spot middle range between concert F and low B flat. And then I work with them the concert F up to the B flat. I used to have them go lower before, but I found it's better to extend their range up higher before you start going into their low concert F range. So if you're not familiar with these exercises, here's what they are, and also here's why they're so important. So what you'll notice here on these Chromatic Basics is the students, there's their note name. So number 1, this is a clarinet book, so concert F, they played in a whole note. And this is what I kind of call my beginner learning sequence. Almost everything that we do that's new, if we learn a new note, I'll do a whole note, 2 half notes, quarter, quarter, half note, quarter, quarter, quarter. I play, you play style. That way they get 4 attempts to play whatever's new. They get used to articulating it right away. You'll notice number 2, in the clarinet book here, I do go ahead and put their enharmonics, F sharp, G flat. You'll notice I also tell them here to use their alternate fingering. That's their chromatic fingering. On the book itself, I didn't point it out here, but you'll notice I actually have their fingering chart there and available. I think this is really, really helpful for a couple of reasons. One, it's helpful for those of you that have mixed instrumentation. When you have all of those different instruments in a class, trying to, reinforce their fingering chart, having them turn the page, go to it, find it, it's just too many steps. This cuts back on the steps, and that way you can tell the students, just look, your fingering chart's right there, and then you can reinforce with them and go, here's what you're seeing. Clarinets, you are seeing thumb, bottom 2 side keys. And you can reinforce that with them that way. You can see, it's kind of hard to see there, but it's written right on their chart. So we'll play number 2 with their alternate F sharp, G flat, that's how I say it. Then number 3, you'll see it just kind of walks its way down, and each one has the different note names as well as the fingerings there. So why is this so important for beginners? Why it's important for them is it's actually building range up and down. As you are playing chromatically, the kids are working stepwise, and it's so important to start here in their middle range just so they can understand the concept that's going on with their chromatics. That's the first reason it's important. The second is it's obviously teaching them all of their fingerings as well as the alternate fingerings you could see here for clarinets. Brass players learn all of their positions and fingerings, and they really start learning them really well. So then when you do go to that chromatic scale, they already know it. They go, oh, this is easy because it's just positions, and they understand their positions. Another feature that I've added to these Chromatic Basics to really help students with their chromatics is this piano keyboard that I've included. And you'll see I've included it on all of the Chromatic Basic sheets. And I use this a lot. So when I introduce chromatics to students, I usually walk to my harmony director and I play all the notes on the keyboard with bad technique. I just go, how many of you have ever done this before? And I play all the notes and all the hands go up. I was like, you didn't know it, but you were playing a scale, and that's called the chromatic scale. And the student's like, whoa, I already can play a scale, yep. And so I play it again, and then I show them on their keyboard that they have a piano, and if they just play every single note, they're doing what I just did, and that's actually a chromatic scale. Then when you start connecting these chromatics, how they're moving down in half steps, what I'll do is, like, for instance, that number 2, the clarinet, the F sharp G flat, I'll tell the students, okay, put your finger on F sharp G flat on your piano keyboard. Is it a black or a white note? It's a black note, correct. F sharp G flat, what's the fingering? Thumb, bottom, 2 side keys, okay? Here we go. I play, you play, line 2, and then I play it back to them. When you're in mixed classes, you obviously have to go to different instrument groupings to say all of those notes, and it takes a little bit longer to learn. In mixed instrument groupings, I wouldn't go through all 8 of these in one day. Maybe you just do like the first 3 or 4, add another on, add another on. You'll see behind me in my camera there, I have a piano keyboard. That's my podium right behind me. That's where I stand every day. And I reference that piano keyboard so often with my students. And I'll even like point to the keyboard and go, okay, everybody find A sharp. What is A sharp the same as? B flat, correct. Brass, what position is A sharp then? 3rd position, you got it. So that's a feature that's already on there to help your students understand what chromatics are. So the first 8 introduce concert F to low, concert B flat. You'll see on clarinet, there's their C. And then the next 2, the number 9 and number 10 line, work on actually putting the chromatics together. So you can see on the clarinet, they go G, alternate G flat, touch. Alternate G flat, F, touch. And so you'll notice I do have the students say the note name. I usually play the pitch either on the instrument that they're playing, or I'll play it on the harmony director. But what I'll do, just a recommendation, when you're teaching this, don't just try to do the whole line the first day. I would recommend you do maybe the first 3 measures the first day. And here's a sequence that works really well for teaching this. First is to note name it. So, and I would just, by the way, at the beginning, I would just say it to the kids, G, alternate G flat, and they say it back to you. Say it a couple times. Then we say the fingering. So clarinets, we'll go, we usually say hover, and then we'll go thumb, bottom, 2 side keys, or we'll just show each other 2. Then what I do is I just play measure 1, I play, you play, using this rhythm. So I'll go da, da, they play it back. Then I might go da, 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 da. So I just kind of go back and forth between those notes just to hit home those fingerings. Then we'll move on to the next measure. We'll sing the note names, G flat to F. We'll play it back and forth. Then we'll go to the next measure. Then, if they're doing pretty well, I might go, okay, let's just do the first 3 measures, I play, you play, and we'll play through it as written. And then each day we just kind of build on until they get comfortable playing this entire line. It takes my beginner clarinets, I would say, probably 4-5 class periods before they can play this line with accuracy. I have a music requirement in my school, so it's never 100% when we're doing this kind of stuff. There's always a few students missing, especially that D flat. Beginners in that D flat, I don't know what it is. That pinky just feels so weird to them. So anyway, once they grasp 9, then we can move on to 10. And 10, you'll notice, uses sharps going back up from the low B flat to F. That one usually goes faster for them just because they really understand all the connections. This Chromatic Basics, I kind of turn this into our long tone warm-up. So in my beginning band right now, we actually use this as our warm-up. We don't do any long tones. We don't use the first band warm-up for my essential foundations. This is our long tone study of the day. Another thing that you can do with these Chromatic Basics, once your students have this all down pretty darn well, then what I do is I set my metronome much slower and we work on our 16th note tonguing, and we play this right around tempo 58, tempo 60, where we'll do the following. So I'll play it as a whole note, da, they play it back to me, da 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 da, da 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 da. They play it back to me in 16ths. Da 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 da. And then the last rhythm, da 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 da. Line 2. And then we just go through, I play, you play, and so we make the articulation more advanced, and it's reinforcing with them all of these chromatic rhythms, and for them, it doesn't get as boring because it's rhythm, or it's notes that they know, but it's new rhythms. So we did this Chromatic Basics for probably about 2 or 3 weeks, and now we've actually just moved on to the Chromatic Basics 3, where we're working our way up from concert F to upper concert B flat. If you have not used chromatics before or taught chromatics in your beginners, I cannot emphasize enough how important that is for your students. It teaches them all of those fingerings, all of those alternate fingerings. It builds their range. It's a great long tone exercise for them, and it's just a really good way of getting your kids just the facility and understanding of their instrument. So if you haven't tried those Chromatic Basics exercises from My Essential Foundations, give them a try. They're really important exercises, and as you kind of get your kids used to them, you're going to find all kinds of different ways you can use them in your teaching. So hope you found that helpful, and again, it's MikePerezBand.com, where you can find My Essential Foundations, Warm-Ups and Technique book, in which all those Chromatic Basics are in.